In light of these allegations of Jay-Z and Pusha T and Eminem's name showing up in the Epstein files, which actually has been debunked that it's not the Epstein files, but just rather a random tip line. But it doesn't matter because people are already going to believe what they want to believe without facts, without context. And in light of all that, I thought it would be interesting to go over some content that speaks to that very thing. Let's start off with Brother Charlemagne, who drops a word like one of Flex's bombs.
Okay, I don't understand why y'all are so quick to want to tear our own down without doing just a little bit of research. Okay, by the way, I saw way more headlines about Pusha T and Jay-Z than I did Eminem, but that's not surprising because we love tearing our own down. Even though when you're talking hip-hop, Eminem is one of us, okay? But I don't even like the headlines I saw of him, all right?
Now that's crazy. That's true. I seen more headlines about Jay-Z and Pusha T, and Eminem was nowhere near there. And it ain't got nothing to do with the subject matter that Eminem used to talk about. Okay? We already know what that is. Because we love just tearing our own down.
Connecting Pusha T, Jay-Z, and Eminem to something like the Epstein files? Come on, man. Okay, listen. For everyone who may not know, let me explain to you. Mentions of these artists didn't come from Epstein's personal records. They didn't come from reports supported by law enforcement. Okay, these stories came from a crisis intake report, a public hotline submission, a tip that some random person called in from 2019. They aren't backed by court findings, indictments, confirmed evidence. And if you actually read the stories, they just simply don't make any sense. Okay, what the hell would Jay-Z be doing with Harvey Weinstein and Attorney General William Barr in 1996? That was the year his first album came out. Do you really think Pusha T in 2007 was hanging around Harvey Weinstein and was one of the victim's handlers?
The amount of people that argued with me on social media about, well, that doesn't mean anything because the powers that be, and he was on the come up, and he was already making money. And so you mean to tell me that Jay-Z, who wasn't even superstar Jay-Z yet, he had just dropped Reasonable Doubt, and it might have not even been in the December of 1996. So even before he dropped his debut album, yeah, he had a buzz underground, but he didn't really get popping until 98 when he dropped Hard Knock Life. And when I say get popping, I mean like really broke to the mainstream, like as far as like basically taking over the rap game. But somehow, out of all the rappers that were already famous at that time, Jay-Z was hanging with one of the biggest movie producers in 1996. Now, granted, there's video of him with Harvey Weinstein, which happened way later on, around the time that Miramax had put out the Paid in Full movie, which we will play that content. But come on, y'all, use your brains.
Eminem story, the woman describes how she weighs 300 pounds. So a video of her would be easy to find. This is her words, not mine. She says this in the report. She weighs 300 pounds, so a video of her would be easy to find. And in the Eminem story, she said when she woke up, she saw someone recording with a phone, and she thinks it was Diddy. Okay? All right? Once again, these are public hotline submissions.
Have y'all ever seen, of all the pictures and all the videos, Diddy did it, all right? We ain't even gonna sit here and act like he didn't do it. But of all the pictures and all the videos of just Diddy alone, have you ever seen him with a 300-pound chick? Like most of those women are thin and in shape, right? Like Cassie.
Not nothing within the file. These are public hotline submissions. The tips itself don't imply these individuals were investigated, okay? Nor does it in any way imply guilt for any of these accusations. The DOJ literally said some of the accusations posed could be fake or falsely submitted. By the way, anyone who actually took the time to read any of these stories would know that. Now, I don't have a problem with people reporting this. I just don't understand how y'all don't report this with proper context. All you outlets know that people don't read past headlines. So if you put Pusha T, Jay-Z, Eminem in the Epstein files, everybody is going to run with it. And I just be having this.
It's all for content. And see, the thing about it with me is like, yeah, we have to title things and caption things a certain way for engagement. But what I do is I try to have enough integrity to where like what I'm talking about is going to have as much information as possible. I might title something a certain way, not to trick the people, but more so to trick the algorithm. But I'm not going to make it sound like, oh, this person's guilty of this without some type of context already being there.
In your thoughts on Donald Trump and what it means for what it means for mass incarceration?
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
Well, then can I ask you about mass incarceration? And do you think the movement is... Okay.
So that's the 2017 Sundance Festival, way after 1996. It's almost 20 years later, and you see him hanging out with Harvey Weinstein, and Harvey Weinstein says, that's my friend. But do you think that every single friend that Harvey Weinstein had, A, either knew about the things that he was into, or B, was participating in the things that he was into? No, come on now, let's not be foolish.
And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do, because that whole thing has turned out, other than Bill Clinton and, Bill Gates and lots of people that there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me. But it was even sort of better than that, because they found that Jeffrey Epstein and this sleazebag writer named Michael Wolff were conspiring against Donald Trump to lose the election. So Epstein was conspiring with a writer for me to lose the election. So right there, you know that I had nothing to do with this guy. But yeah, it's a terrible thing. The amount of time that's being wasted. When Epstein was alive, like 10 years ago, nobody cared about it. But they're only doing it. But now it's really hitting back on them because Bill Clinton is such a big part of it. The Democrats are
Trump know damn well, just like the rest of us, that Epstein is still alive.
pushing it. And the problem is that it's turning out to be the Democrats that were with and conspired with Epstein. So I think you're probably going to see a little pullback from them. But think of it. They were working together to try and help me lose the election. But this is the Oval Office, so I guess that didn't work out too well. Okay, maybe get onto something else.
But what would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten
healthcare,
justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they haven't gotten justice?
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, Mr. President.
You know why you're not smiling? Because you know you're not telling the truth. And you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you.
All right, so that's Donald Trump vehemently clearing his damn name. Like, look, I don't know nothing about none of that Epstein shit. I ain't got nothing to do with it. I've never been on that island, even though his name did actually, in fact, show up in the Epstein files. But again, that does not mean that anybody was actually there, actually engaged in these acts. Now, I haven't read everything, so maybe some of y'all that actually read through some of these files have more information than me. And please drop it in the comments section. The point of this video is I just want us to get back at a place of logical thinking and stop the whole narrative that just because somebody knows somebody means that they was involved in the same things. The amount of people that was like, oh, Jay-Z was at those Diddy parties. Yeah, everybody was at the Diddy parties. That doesn't mean that they was participating in the freak-offs. Okay? That's a slippery slope right there.
A lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to Global Health. In retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
Okay, now I'm gonna be honest. He sounds guilty as hell. I regret every minute that I spent with him, and I apologize for it. Why? Why do you regret the minutes that you spent with him? What was so bad about those minutes that you spent with him that you regret, that you're regretful about? If I was hanging with a serial killer and I didn't know that they was a serial killer, I wouldn't go on an apology tour saying, I'm sorry about all the time that I spent with that serial killer. I didn't know they was out here killing serial. So what the fuck that got to do with me? That sound guilty as shit. And then you don't sound sorry. You do not sound like you have sorrow behind your voice. I'm not saying that Bill Gates was involved in any of it. I'm just saying I don't believe what he's saying right here. Trump, I kind of do believe him.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
You know, it's factually true that I was only at dinners. You know, I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, you know, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
The emails in the files suggest that Bill Gates had additional affairs and that he tried to get medication to treat a sexually transmitted infection and that he was going to give you the medicine without you knowing. His representative has said all of this is false. It is not on you to have to respond to the details of that alleged behavior, but I wonder what your dominant emotion is when you read these news articles with these details.
Sad. Just unbelievable sadness. Unbelievable sadness, right? And again, I'm able to take my own sadness and look at those young girls and say, my God, how did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, you know, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life.
Okay, I don't understand.
Yeah, right. Okay. Leave it up to an ex-wife to be 100% about her husband. The reason that she even is so rich and wealthy now is because she broke up with him. I had to leave my marriage. No, you didn't have to leave. You decided to leave, like a lot of women do. And you got away with millions or billions of dollars, and you just breezing through life now. And you didn't sound sad just now. I don't believe her neither. You don't really sound sad. Are you so sad that you're going to bawl tears out of your eyes and use your billions of dollars to wipe your tears away? I'm not buying that. I'm really not buying that. She just made it sound worse. She just made it sound even worse. So that's just my 18 cents on it. But guys, let me know what you think in the comment section, and I will holler at y'all later.
If I had a machine that could travel through time, I would go back some years with a Mac and a 9, 2 Uzis with a few grenades in my hand, 8Ks, HKs, more Ks than the Klan. That's fuck a nigga gonna do against me with a musket. I'm talking about them days they would stone you in public. You probably go back in time to meet Jesus Christ. I'd ask Jesus for help to steal Judas Ice. Amen.
You got music, you got a business, you got a product or service, but you're not making enough money off of it because you don't have enough exposure. DM or email me right now to get promoted on my platforms. I have 850,000 subscribers on YouTube. I have 460,000 followers on Instagram. I have the following that you want to get seen in front of. I was able to increase the sales of this Amazon book off of a YouTube sponsorship with just 30,000 views. And I was able to give this artist 15,000 views with the Instagram repost in less than 24 hours. So DM or email me at bookingcranklucas@gmail.com right now to get more exposure and more money for your business.